In our Advent text for today, it opens with these words. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those in pitch dark land, light has dawned. I think this is a perfect summary of our journey in Advent. A journey from darkness into light. Now, this journey can be a tricky one. It can be a harrowing one. A really, really long one. One filled with uncertainty and hardship. Isaiah 9, 2 through 9 was written in just such a time for the people of Israel. You see, this passage was emerged during the Assyrian exile, a time that seemed hopeless and the future was uncertain. Yet Isaiah's vision pierces through the darkness, offering a promise of light and renewal, and a hope that transcended their immediate circumstances. A hope that would be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. Now, as we prepare to hear Isaiah's words of hope today, I can think of no better way to begin than by singing the following hymn. I invite you to stand, if you're comfortably able to do so, and join in singing hymn number 108 in the hymnal, 108. Isaiah the prophet has written of old. And really listen to the words of the prophet and how they tie into Advent here. 108. Be seated.
The lesson today begins in Isaiah chapter 9, starting with verse 2. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in pitch dark land, light has dawned. You have made the nation great. You have increased its joy. They rejoiced before you as with a joy at the harvest, as those who divide plunder rejoice. A child is born to us, a son is given to us, and authority will be on his shoulders. He will be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There will be vast authority and endless peace for David's throne and for his kingdom, establishing and sustaining it with justice and righteousness now and forever.
Thank you. I would like to begin today by sharing with you a poem. It's by Maddie McGlynn, and it's called Waiting for Now. Waiting for Now. Everything is about to change, and it already has. It will be, it was, it is. The dawn you so eagerly await to end the long, cold darkness is already full sun far off in the east. Yet even after light's return, spring is months away. 30 long years pass after his birth before the Messiah comes. Stones of justice have been tossed into the lake, but their ripples have not yet arrived, have not resolved into the kingdom already present among us. While we wait, let us seek, in the darkness of the now and not yet, for treasures God has hidden there, the riches of secret places found only by night. This is what is promised us. The wheel of life turns ever on, and darkness is the path to joy. Advent has been described as a season of waiting. I mean, if you think about it, that's probably a pretty accurate description. We wait for hatred to cease. We wait for all people to be treated with equity. We wait for peace to reign. We wait for justice to roll down like waters. In short, we wait in darkness, even as we anticipate the coming of light. But here's the thing. Waiting is not passive. It's not resignation or simply marking time until something better arrives. And Isaiah's words here, spoken to a people battered by oppression and uncertainty, kind of lift this up. Words that speak to our own season of uncertainty and discomfort. They're spoken with a kind of a renewed sense of hope in this season. In the poem that I read earlier, McGlynn uses the illustration of a stone's ripple effect on the surface of still water. Stones of justice have been tossed into the lake, but the ripples have not yet arrived. This illustration reminded me of a fleeting thought that I once had. You see, Becky and Manny and I were at Little Girl Point this last summer. If you're not familiar, Little Girl Point is located on Lake Superior in the UP just across the border. Anyway, it was a calm day, so of course Manny and I were doing what along the beach? Skipping stones across the water. 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 skips. But one of my stones that I threw out didn't skip. It plopped. And by plopped, I mean it plopped. And it sent out ripples across the water in all directions. Now, the ones that came towards the shore ended pretty abruptly. There was nowhere left to go. But the ripples that caught my attention were the ones headed away from the shore. How far will they go, I wondered. Are they on their way to Canada? Who knows? As you might imagine, I didn't have any answers to my wonderings. But I don't think having the answer was the point. The joy for me was in the mystery, in the not knowing. You see, it's the not knowing that sometimes allows us to imagine reality into being. To imagine reality into being. What do I mean by that? Well, think about God's covenant that we read about in the Hebrew Bible. God promised the Israelites what? 5 things, really. God promised Abraham that his people would outnumber the stars. Okay, check. God promised Noah that humankind would never again be destroyed. Check. Well, for now anyway. God promised Moses entrance into the land of milk and honey. Kind of check. It wasn't exactly all that they had hoped for when they got there. God promised David that his lineage would lead to the coming Messiah. Check there too. But what about the new covenant? The fifth thing. The new covenant that we read about in Jeremiah by the prophet Jeremiah. Here's the words he wrote. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer shall they teach one another or say to each other, know the Lord, for they shall know me, from the least to the greatest. I don't think we can put a check mark by that one yet. But even though we're still trying to figure out what it means to have the law within us and to have it written on our hearts, even though covenant and our part in it and God's fulfillment of it are still a mystery, I think there's opportunity here. We have the opportunity here to imagine reality into being. How? By actively participating in God's call to social justice, by advocating for causes that care for creation rather than dismantling it. We can imagine reality into being by speaking words of wisdom to our youth and words of hope to the lonely, by speaking words of compassion to the marginalized, and speaking words of our own faith, of our own encounters with the divine, with those who might be struggling spiritually. And we can imagine reality into being by speaking truth to power. In short, we do this by making sure that the stones of justice do get tossed into the lake so that those ripples can spread and spread and spread. And finally, as you leave this place today and as your Advent journey begins in earnest today, I want to leave you with this blessing. May the God of grace be in your words and guide your actions. May the peace of God indwell your spirit and indwell your community. May the love of God be ever present in your heart and on your lips. A love that's always with you and yet always ascending. And as we, each of us, wait for now, may God's love fill the empty spaces, even as we co-create with God a more kind and just world. May it become so for you and for me. Amen.